Give them a proposal for something.
Give them a proposal. Yeah.
Yes. What do the numbers actually say? Not what does your ego say?
But at least you have like a target to aim at.
Now I know that's not.
You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, if you haven't, and I know a lot of you haven't because I see the numbers of people listening and not the numbers of likes and comments and subscriptions. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment button, follow button, wherever you're at. Do that for us. If you want to take the conversation beyond what you're just listening to here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today we're here with Patrick Readyhough with Pond Roofing. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, let's chat a little bit about how you got started in roofing. How'd you get to Pond?
So, well, let's go back a little bit. In college, I had a painting business, so I got a taste of helping homeowners, doing contracting. I liked being outdoors. I liked helping homeowners. So my first job out of college was selling roofing, siding, windows, and doors. I was an in-home sales rep. And it just kind of built from there till I was, the guy who wanted to have his own business. I left the company I was working for, started my own business. And I actually sold that business, started another one doing the same thing. And that was right after the 2008, 2009 financial debacle. And so I would do anything to keep my crews busy. And I came across Pond Roofing. The owner at the time was the second generation owner. She had taken over from her father when he got sick and passed away. She had built the business from about 1 million to 3 million with the help of some great employees that were still around, but she needed help. And long story short, I said, hey, I've got this little company. I want a bigger company. You got a bigger company and you want no company. Let's help each other. She was talking about, how do I retire? How do I play more golf?
Yeah.
So it just, I was helping. I went there to help with one door. And I saw some opportunity, and instead of having them refer the door to me, I said, sell it on your paperwork and I'll install it. And that was really the start. And so I bought the company. I went to work for her in 2010, and on a handshake, I merged my little company with hers, brought my crews over, brought all my contacts. I ran sales and production side. She handled finance, and then, the understanding was that she would sell the company to me, which I bought it in 2012. So this past fall was 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
And was it her father that started it?
Yeah, her father started in 1964.
Yeah. So you came into what was it like coming into, I guess, some of the dynamic that you had to was she running it the whole, like, at that time, and the father was already beyond the business, past being part of the business, or was
so she was in her mid 60s.
Okay.
She was like 65, and her father, when I met her, her father had passed back in 2000.
Okay.
So this is a guy, he was a World War II turret gunner in an airplane, right? And came back from the war. He went to work for the Cherry Smash Company, which was this cherry soda. And then when they went out of business, he started a roofing company. Like, he went to work for a roofer, and then he started his own company in 1964. Wow. And they did a great job taking care of the customers, the homeowners that live around here. And when he was sick and dying, he asked his children, who wants to do this? Yeah. And she retired from her government job to do that. She was like 55 at the time. So when I walked in, what it was she had tried to sell the business once and it didn't work out. She was a little gun shy because of how that worked out. She had some great employees that were really just doing the stuff. And she, you know, she was good at organizing people. She didn't know a whole lot about the roofing business,
Mm-hmm.
but she took good care of the people, so they stayed, and it was a good thing. But they were just under 3 million when I met them,
Yep.
which is a good business. And I saw that they had some decent processes in place. I just felt like, wow, this is a big ball of potential that I can take this and run with it and build it how I want. Just have a leg up on, there's a
Yeah.
location, of almost 50-year-old name at the time. Like,
That's right. Some pieces of the puzzle were already in place, right? Like,
they were great pieces to have.
yeah, for sure. And so when you came in, what were some of the things that you were able to help with right away?
Well, right away, like I said, I came to help with a door, right? Well, the door hadn't actually been sold, but they had dabbled in windows and doors and siding, and they were kind of struggling with getting the full exteriors up and running. It was always a roofing repair, and gutter business. They wanted to be in exteriors, and I had an awesome window and door crew, a great siding crew, another gutter crew, another shingle crew. And so I was able to bring those pieces in, help fix the website, the marketing.
Yep.
They didn't really do any marketing. It was all just referral, repeat customer, a little bit of church bulletins in the Catholic churches. Not a whole lot there. And I just started organizing those things and changing how the work flowed through the office to make sure that we didn't miss things. Just, fine tuning things.
Fine tuning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as you got did the painting business that you had, was that a lesson in a lot of these things that you were able to bring over then, do you think?
It was a huge lesson because the painting business was through a company called AAA Student Painters. And so what they did was it was like a franchise. Hey, here's your zip code or zip codes, and we're going to train you. We're going to teach you how to recruit, hire, and train your buddies to be your painters. We're going to teach you how to go door to door and get leads. We're going to teach you how to estimate. Sales training. Here are the forms. We handle the back end, the office, and we're going to cut you loose in your territory. And I did that every summer during college, and I made a ton of money doing it, and I learned a lot of great lessons. And I joke now that it ruined me because it made it really hard to work for somebody else. But I got a great taste of what it was like to do my own thing and manage through processes and by the numbers. Here's the formula. If you want to sell this, if you want to make this much money, then you need to sell this many jobs, this many dollars of jobs. And if your average ticket is this, then that's this many jobs. And if you're going to close this at this sales rate, then this is how many leads you're going to need for the summer. And here's how many doors you're going to need to knock on to do that. So we put together a business plan. And anyway, when I started my first company, I thought, I just always had this idea in my head. I can run this, roofing, siding, and window and door business the same way.
Yeah.
It took a lot longer than I thought it would to get it there because I wasn't aware of how many resources there were until about 5 or 6 years ago when I started finding them and using them. But that was the dream, right?
But it's such great lessons from that time. And it's kind of like, I think you said something like paint by the numbers or run the business by the numbers and things like that, right? So here's one of the things that I find contractors struggling with all the time is that they don't know the numbers. And I'm not saying they don't know their numbers. A lot of times they don't, but I think a lot of times people don't know the effort that is required to get to the end result. And so what I heard from you in there is they were like, hey, hit this many doors, hit this many, this is it, and this is how you end up, right? This is the end goal. And sometimes someone else telling you that is helpful, because then you at least have that framework to start in, right? And your
That's right.
conversion rate may be a little better, a little worse, little, but at least you have like a target to aim at,
You got to have a target,
right?
and yeah, for sure. And it's funny because for many years I've had a pretty good grasp on the numbers. Early on I had a great CPA that taught me how to look at a P&L and a balance sheet, and he's been a great mentor, and he's been awesome about that. And I understood, putting together a sales plan from the student painting days and all these things. And I'll talk to people and I'll help them. I got buddies all across the country that are, in these types of businesses, and I might be helping somebody and they're like, man, you really know your numbers. And then I'll turn around the next week and realize, as much as I feel like I know my numbers, I was overlooking something completely,
Yeah.
right? Like I didn't always have a sales plan for this business, right? Because it was kind of like, it was just coming at us. So just get as much as we can and we'll see. Now I actually plan the year, and we've set sales goals with the 5 estimators I have. Well, I come to find out I was overlooking some important things. I'm setting these sales goals
Yeah.
based on, okay, what do you think you're going to sell? And then the total of what the 5 salesmen say, that's what we're going to sell this year, instead of, well, all right, if we got 5 guys and our average close rate is this, and our average job size was X from this past year, what's our actual capacity? Like, what's realistic? And okay, well, if you can raise your closing percentage by this much, that only gets us another $500,000 across 5 guys, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I was not using the numbers appropriately, right? Like I wasn't factoring in, well, wait a second, if I want to sell 10 million, we actually need 2 more salesmen, right? Or if that was the numbers, right? It's like, what do the numbers actually say? Not what does your ego say?
Yes. And not just what because when you're asking your reps too, they may be telling you their stretch goal.
Right.
They're like,
Right.
man, I really want to hit this year. Like I really, boy, Patrick, I think I'm going to be able to get to, right. And so you factor that into your, like
Plan.
but that's their stretch goal sometimes and not their real, like, so you're, if they don't hit it, you don't hit it kind of thing. And
That's right.
you're not putting the company in a position to get there without a doubt, I guess, is maybe a good way to put it. Like, we have to make sure the company gets there if the reps get to their numbers or not, kind of thing. Like, you have to make sure.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that not understanding the effort, right? Like,
right.
even in that, like, that you're talking about understanding the numbers, which is so important. But sometimes, these 5 reps or estimators say, hey, we want to get $1 million each, right? Well, yeah, cool.
Right.
We're going to hit that 5 million. But that's not knowing the real numbers, and it's not being able to pull the levers properly, because going back to marketing, well, what if their appointments are slow? What KPIs are you measuring to know if they're on track to hit their million?
Right.
There's a lot of things and levers that you can pull and twist and turn as you're looking through those lens of the numbers. What are some of the levers that you found? Like you had said, like close rate, right? Like if you tweak the close rate this much, we get this. But what are some of the other levers that you found that have been like aha moments for you?
Sure. A big aha moment was a few years ago when we sat down and we looked at demo rates. And I should clarify first, we are not a one call close organization. So we're not, because that's not how we're set up to sell, we're not tracking that as hard. We look at that more of like a 6-month rolling number, like close rates and things like that, because if my guys run appointments last week, it might take 2-3 weeks to close those. And we do, and at very good margins, but so we look at the numbers just a little bit differently, right? So if we're looking at 6-month rolling and we were looking at demo rates, and this is probably 4 or 5 years ago for the first time, looking at a demo rate.
Yeah.
And we noticed that this one guy who had the highest closing rate also had the highest demo rate. And his NSLI, right, net sales per lead issued, was the highest. And part of what was driving that up so high was the fact that he gave estimates to more of the people that he saw than anybody else by like 5%, right? So he was at 95% and the next highest guy was at 89. So, like 89 and change.
Yeah.
So it was a little over 5. And we're like, guys, if you show up at the house and it's, we can't help them with the window because they just need a pane of glass replaced, give them an estimate for a new door or a new roof or some siding or something. Give them a proposal for something.
Give them a proposal. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a huge aha moment. Like, gosh, why was I not looking at that number? And let me say this too, Jim. When I listen to podcasts like yours and other ones, and I'm sure there are guys listening right now, there are guys who are going, holy crap, I didn't think about that either. And then they immediately feel like, oh man, I'm so far behind. We're not. We're always learning these things. It's never too late to go out after you're done listening to this and go, well, I guess I better look at that number and see how I can fix that. Or if you hear some great marketing idea, like, well, we can start that next week if we want to. But I've tortured myself for years going, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. It's like, no, I got a good business. It's doing fine. Just keep implementing things and it'll work out. So
it's a weird thing where the way that it's the comparison a lot of times, right? You'll look at other companies in your market or people you meet in a mastermind group or people you meet at a conference or something like that. And companies, wow, that's crazy. Like, how did they get there? Or then you see the one in your area that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, what did they do? What is going on here?
Yeah. But don't worry about it. Play your own game.
You got to play. You got to. But what you said is you're just continuing to make small improvements in your own business.
Right.
It adds up over time. If you think about, Pond Roofing started in the mid 1960s, right? Like,
right.
If there's no way that the gentleman who started Pond Roofing could look at it now and imagine anything that was even a part of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it would be unimaginable.
Yeah. There's things we're doing today that I couldn't imagine 10 years ago.
That's right.
You
mentioned something like it was only like 5-10 years ago or something that you started like, wow, there's all this information out there. And you started kind of like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff. So how has that journey been for you?
Well, it's changed my life for sure. Right. It started with, a guy named Brian Kaskavalsian, who CertainTeed was sending him around and doing these little, wealthy contractor workshops. And I went to one of those. And I went to one of those and I took some things away from that. And like right away, it made me more money and caused me less stress. And I was like, okay. And then I went to, he has a conference every year. I went to that and I started meeting other guys and engaging other coaches. I met a mindset coach through him that helped me think about things in a different way and really helped me get out of my own way, because I've got a great staff. I've got great customers. We've got a lot of great things going on. And sometimes as owners of these businesses, we think I've got to be involved in all these things to make it right. And it's like, man, just get out of the way and cut some people loose. Like if you set the right culture and the right parameters, they're going to run with it because they want to do stuff too. So that's been helpful. And but that's been the journey, is looking for the things that I think will, impact us and do those first.
Yeah.
For me, everything has to kind of go through the test of like, will it make things better for my customers and my teammates and then our community? And if it will, then let's see how we work it in.
I had a like it, you're speaking of like getting out of your own way. There's a book by Robert Kiyosaki called The Cash Flow Quadrant. I've mentioned it a few times on this podcast. I love the concept of it. It's a quadrant, right? Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. Those are the four quadrants. And you kind of move through those in kind of through
Yep.
your life, right? You start
Yep.
off maybe as an employee, you learn some skills, and then you're like, oh, maybe I'll go do this on my own, and you start a company. But in that, you're self-employed, and I think the hardest jump to make, I don't think it's from employee to self-employed. A lot of people are scared to
No.
make that leap, but I don't think that's the biggest leap. I think the biggest leap is from being self-employed to a business owner.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
a there's a challenge there, because you first of all, you have a lot of investment in the business,
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally, and and when you're starting off, a lot of times you don't have the capital to hire those people that you can just set free and
Yep.
they'll go run with it, right? They're the people of now, not the people of tomorrow that you'll need tomorrow in your business.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that factor into it, and so you're like, man, I have to keep doing this myself. I have to keep doing this myself. I have to keep doing this myself. The people that I've hired, it can't do it themselves. And how did how was that journey for you?
It sounded a lot like what you just said, Jim. Right? It was, and look, any thought that you repeat to yourself over and over is going to become the script.
Mm,
Right? So we keep, like if I'm telling myself that because those are the employees I have, then my brain tells me that that's it forever. And so
yeah,
at some point you have to say, no, 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 no. That was then. This is the new way.
yeah,
I I'm a confident business leader. I know how to get these people to do what I want. I sat down one day with Breakthrough Academy coach, and we were trying to put together like let's document our mission and values. And I had started that exercise multiple times at the company and just never got it
yeah,
around. But when I finally did it, and with some of my staff, we figured out that our mission is to make things better for our customers, our teammates, and our community. And we figured out like what's the special sauce that Pond has that has people coming back to us over and over and giving us great referrals and all these great reviews. And it wasn't putting together this thing of like aspirations, like, well, we want to be these guys. This is what we are now. How do we
yeah,
bottle that up? How do we make sure that anybody we hire going forward thinks the same way? And when I saw that coming, those types of things coming together, it made me more confident in cutting people loose with stuff. And then just the mind work of telling myself this is how it has to be. You have to you
you
have
have
to
to.
think different. You have to be a different guy than you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You can't just run around being contractor the rest of your life. As much as fun as that is to be the guy that jumps in the truck and runs out and saves the day and then goes over here and sells this, you can't be that guy the rest of your life. You can't play contractor. You have to be a businessman.
Yeah. And it, like, there are people that it's I think it's okay to do that, but
Yes.
understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, understand that, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to be my salesperson, my production manager, and or have some self awareness and say, look, I love selling. I love talking to people. I love being out. I could go sell 2-3 million myself and hire a team on the production side to manage that. And you're still self-employed in that regard, but that's what you love doing. Or on the other side of it, be self-aware that you're not the salesman, right?
Right.
That there are people that will outsell you all day long. But boy, you love being in the trenches. You love being part of the build, part of and you could stick to there. But then there's an understanding that if you're trying to create a business, if you're trying to create something that is an asset to you and your family that you could sell down the road, which it
Right.
was challenging for Pond to sell. It sounds like, right, at
Yep.
first, or the first time that, like, you have to have a business that it has to be able to operate without you. And
Absolutely. Well,
And
and you said something crucial there. It's like, if you want to do this,
that's right.
right? You can be, if you're happy being the contractor, like I sell it, order it, I schedule it. I'm going to do 1 million to 1.5 million a year, and I'm going to
Yep.
run around some days, and other days I'm just going to go fishing, and I'm going to make a good little chunk of change. Nope, no problem. Like, I enjoyed being that guy. Some days I miss being that guy.
Yeah.
But it's if you want to have something that's going to
If,
grow and help create opportunities for other people and build wealth for yourself and have something to sell or pass on or whatever, if you want to do that, then you have to think and act different.
that's right. And,
That's
and
the
and I
key.
think that's where the friction
Yep.
happens a lot of times, right? It's
Yeah.
I want, or people will express I want this, but they won't do the activities that are involved in wanting that, and
No.
and so they get stuck in that.
We call that the knowing doing gap in the
Yeah.
mindset I do with Sean Foyer. It's the knowing doing gap is, I know this is what I should be doing, but there's some script running in my head that tells me, no, that's not going to work, or that's not you, or that, no, that's not for you. You don't deserve that, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's that friction
Yeah.
that stops us from taking the actions that we need. And we gotta figure that out and choose the right thoughts and activities.
I was talking to a guy that I coached this morning, who reached out and was struggling last week. Was like, I don't know if I even want this anymore. Like, to that point of struggle,
Oh man.
and got into it and had conversations, and it was like, oh, well, you're not really selling. You're just waiting for sales to come to you. Obviously, there's a gap there that need like. But now let's be realistic on who you are, right? Like,
Right.
let's become self-aware of who you are. And if that's not you, boy, you need to fill that seat really quickly, because,
Sure.
you know, you're making it, you're doing all right. But if you don't have that in you, that you want to do that on, you're building a business here. You got to put the pieces together. How was I want to go back a little bit to where
Yeah.
you said you kind of put this together with your team. I think that's another thing that for people to hear is that when you're doing these activities, and if you are doing it from kind of an authoritarian perspective, and you are putting this together, you're putting the mission, the values, the core value, all this, you're inserting that on your team.
Yeah.
If you're starting from just you, and you develop that, and you grow your business with that, that's one thing. But if you already have a business running, or at least people
Yeah.
on your team and things like that, and now you come in and you say, these are our core values,
Yeah.
I don't think it works as well.
So it does and it doesn't,
Yeah.
right? If you just throw it at them like that, you're right. You have to make them feel like they came along for the journey for sure. And um, it, it, here's the biggest reason why it doesn't work like that very well, Jim, is because as business owners, we're kind of we're chickens. We think to ourselves, if I start laying all this new stuff on people, they're going to be like, what the hell? And so we put it off, and then it slowly drips in. And I think after going to a few conferences and realizing, like, no, I can really just flip the switch and become a different person tomorrow and start, like, I have to be careful how strong I come on, but I can just start dripping these ideas on people. I can start talking about things in a different way. I can start telling people about my plans. Like, I always had this idea that I could create bigger opportunities for people that come to work for me, but I didn't know what those were, so I wouldn't talk about it. Now I just talk about it, because whatever I talk about and put energy into, it's going to happen. I found that out, right? So
Crazy.
yeah, so when it comes to, like, the mission and values, I involved the whole staff at our staff meetings, and we just talked about it. And that was huge for me to see how people got it involved and engaged in that. But it was only this fall. I mean, we did 9 million last year. We've done 9 million a couple years, and we make good money on what we do. And so you'd think that a company that size, I mean, I hear guys on your podcast and other podcasts, they're $2 million and they talk about their leadership team. And it was back to what we were talking about before. I was like, man, I feel bad about myself because I don't have a leadership team. And I kept, and it was like, I kept thinking, well, I was like, why not? Well, because my thoughts were in the way. What I was thinking in the back of my mind was, maybe you don't have the right people for that. Maybe you're not a good enough leader to pull that off. And I just ripped the Band-Aid off and I went to my installation director and my brand new marketing director, she's 28 years old and she doesn't know marketing, but she knows some other things that I brought her specifically for. And then one of my estimators who's always sitting in my office wanting to talk about bigger and better things. And I took those 3 people and I said, we are now the 4-man leadership team for this company. And we're going to do a year-end review and we're going to plan next year. You guys are going to be a part of it. This is how it's going to go. And I said, can you be a part of that? They thought it would be a great idea. And now I have a leadership team. And now we have a level 10 meeting every Wednesday. And it's like, just like that, it starts happening because I got out of the way and said, nope, we're just going to do this.
That's a good way to put it. Like it doesn't, so the action of starting the process doesn't have to involve, you don't have to do it in a democratic way. You could say, this is what we're doing now. And this is where we're going. But I think the buy-in on like the values and the yearly planning and quarterly planning and getting everyone pointing in the same direction and understanding, boy, that's powerful, man. Like,
well, and the buy-in requires, this is where as a business owner, you have to put on your sales hat. Yeah. You know what I mean? You do have to be able to craft a message. And if you don't feel like you're that guy, ask somebody for some help on how to word it, just like you word a sales pitch. Because you do have to be able to go to them and say, listen, here's why we're going to do this. Here's why I want to document this. Because, we've hired people that you didn't get along with. And it took us too long to figure out how bad they were. And we don't want that to happen again. So we want to document what are the values that the people are here? What are they? We actually have a thing called the Pond Patriot Score. And it's a survey that we use where we have team members survey each other, right? And it's 10 questions that are all based on our mission and values that are things like, my teammate takes responsibility for their actions, right? And we rate them on that. And you have to maintain your Pond Patriot Score so that we can root out the bad people. But when I explain that, like, this is to help you, right? So that you have good teammates around you. They go, oh, that makes sense. And I say, we're going to have more teammates because I want to grow this business. Why do I want to grow this business? So that I can create opportunity for you to have more of the things in your life that you want to have. And they go, oh, that makes sense. Well, in order to make it bigger and have more experiences or more opportunities, we have to organize it better. So that's why we're documenting SOPs, and that's why you're going to make 1 million Loom videos this month and all. But you have to be able to communicate the whys.
Yeah.
The what's in it for me, for them, and you have to speak about it in a way that they get excited too, because they see that you're excited.
Yeah, it is a what's in it for them, right? And it is a sales pitch to the team. You're selling the team. Really, you're selling people all the time. It's like you're selling people when you're hiring them on the opportunity of working for you. While they're working for you, you're selling them. I like to talk about marketing in 4 different ways. Marketing, not sales, but marketing and sales kind of, go hand in hand. But you're marketing to future prospects, right? You're marketing to your current pipeline of your past customers. But then the two that people don't think about and kind of reminds me of this is you're marketing to your current team, why they should continue to be an employee of your company. Sure. And you're marketing to future employees. So
100%.
And so it's that sell, and then marketing and sales goes hand in hand. So now you got to sell them the dream of what's in it for them. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, look, this is how I see it. People don't go to work for a company to make the owner of that company rich.
No.
Right. And But you do end up with employees who sit there and they go, I'm just sitting around here making this guy rich. If somebody's sitting in one of my in my office or working for me in one of my trucks and that's what they think, then I've failed
Yeah.
to communicate to them that, hey, I'm here to help you get more of what you want out of this life. And so it's either I've failed or they just have a terrible attitude and they can go work somewhere else if that's how they feel about it. What I see is that I'm here to help them get more of what they want. If I can make people rich, great, right? Am I going to get rich? Hopefully. But I don't expect them to just like come there to work for me to make me rich. I want them to show up ready to get more of what they want, put in the work, have their, what's your dream? Let's work hard and let's get there,
Yeah.
because I know that if I can get people what they want, I'll get what I want
You
one
will
way or another.
every time, right? It's a law of the universe that
That's
right,
right.
right.
That's right.
It will happen. So now that you got the team bought in, right?
Yep.
That you're doing your quarterly plans, you're doing your annual plannings. What things have changed in your business since doing that? How is the execution of the services you provide? Has it been,
Yeah.
what things are going on in your company since you put these things into action?
The biggest thing is when we get to the end of a year and everybody's standing around, we're going, look, here's all the things we did. We did this many dollars in revenue. We maintained our gross profit percentage where it needed to be. We did this many jobs. We got this many new reviews. For the longest time, Jim, we were at 4.9 on Google with a couple hundred reviews, and now we've got like close to 400 reviews. And it finally, just last week, it says 5.0. Now I know that's not, I kind of liked having the 4.9. I felt that was a little more credible, but what an awesome win for my team that we got 400 reviews and we're at a 5.0. So when we're standing around and we're looking at these things, the last, I don't know how many years, as like every year we just get a little better at execution. We get to the end of the year and it's like, wow, we did all that. It didn't feel that busy. It didn't feel that stressful. Because there was a time where if we did 7 million, it felt like the world was falling apart. Like we were by the seat of our pants. That's what I used to say. We're very successful, but we're flying by the seat of our pants. And now it doesn't feel that way. We do 9 million, like that was easy, so now we need to do 10, 12 and 15. And so I think that's where we feel it the most. Happy customers, very generous language when they talk about our services. It's not just, they were good, it's a 5-star review. It's, very, very, very positive, talk about specific team members and their contribution to their overall experience. And that's what I want for the customers. Not just like, it was good enough. It was, they came and they promised me this and it happened that way. That's what I want to hear, then I know we're winning.
That reminds me of a Jim Rohn quote. It's, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys got better. So in getting better, it made it easier. It's
right.
Don't hope for it to become easier for you. Make yourself better so that it is easier. And
what that looks like, so somebody's sitting there going, that's great, guys, but what the hell are you talking about? Here's what it looks like. To me, the biggest thing is your workflow. Like you sold okay, you go out and you do the estimate. Now, how easy is it for the person to buy from you? And then what's the handoff look like in the office? And then what are the steps that are going to happen? What communications are they going to get from the time they sign their contract till they get their invoice? What does that whole thing look like? Is it consistent, or does every customer get the same message at the same interval? How do you prepare them for the day of installation? What can you do to make that experience better for them, and then document it and build in as many automations as you can into your CRM. So we use Improve It 360. When the job goes to my production coordinator who handles roofs, when she checks off that she is starting the project, an email automatically goes out to the customer that says, "Hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm Natalie. I'm the production coordinator. The job landed in my lap. Here's Now I've done these things, these pre-production activities to get your job ready, and it includes these things." And it's like a list of 5 things. And when your job was when you signed your contract, we were on this much of a lead time. We're still on track for that. You won't hear from me again for 2 weeks, and then I'll call you to talk about dates. In the meantime, if you need me, just know you're on my radar, whatever. So that's the basic message.
Yep.
It's so simple. You add that in, and customers go, "Oh, good. They're doing work with my deposit. They've got my deposit. They're doing something. I'm on somebody's radar. I haven't been lost." And then Natalie calls them in 2 weeks. And so that's, getting better at that is
the customer journey is
customer
what
journey.
I've been doing presentations at all the shows this year at RoofCon
Nice.
and Roofing Process and IRE and Win the Storm. And I did a presentation on all of them on the perfect customer journey in roofing. But really, it's a training on how to create the perfect customer journey. It's a process called customer journey mapping. But it's exactly what you're talking about. You look at how people become aware of you, and you optimize that and make that experience and that communication in that area, dial that in.
That's
then
right.
As people are considering your services, like you said, your team is not a one-call close. So, in between that inspection and giving the estimate to the homeowner, they're considering you. So what value can you add in that communication to allow that to be a better experience for that homeowner? And then once they make their purchase decision, what happens then? And what kind of and really where it comes down to is what communication are you having with that customer at that time?
That's right.
I always think that if a customer is wondering, you're losing. So if they have to wonder, what's next?
Yeah.
When are they going to call me back for this? When am I going to get my estimate? Anytime they're wondering, you've lost. The trust level in your company goes down and down and down, and you sometimes can't recover from that. Even if you do a great job on the build, if everything goes well, but early in the process, they already lost faith in your ability to, and that lost faith is lack of communication.
Yeah, you have to over communicate.
Over-communicate.
Over-communicate it. Look, everybody's got their sales pitch. You have to be able to present something. A lot of people spend a lot of time talking about all the awards they've won. Let me show you a bunch of reviews. That's all important, but the way we get our leads, the people already know all that about us.
Yeah.
Right. And so what my guys spend their time doing is communicating about our process, because in the end, customers don't really know what they're supposed to care about sometimes. How do I pick a contractor? They don't know what they should care about, what questions they should ask. Our goal is really to make sure that they get more of what they want, right? And what they want is a peaceful experience, whether it's from us or from somebody else. I hope it's us, but if at the very least I can make sure that you don't get screwed by somebody else by educating you, great. And here's what you should ask about. What is your process? How does it work? Because so many contractors are like, they've got some poor woman sitting in the office who's doing everything. She's scheduling leads, she's taking warranty calls, she's ordering materials, she's sending stuff to crews. She is the whole thing. And that doesn't always work that well for the customer. Things get lost. And so what is the process? And so we spend a lot of time talking about that to over communicate.
What do you believe a great process looks like?
Well, I think ours looks great. So let's take it, just say from the sale is created right? Through to when the crew is gone and we're getting ready
Yep.
to invoice. To me, it looks like this. Number one, um, some sort of specialization, right? And I know smaller contractors, it's a little bit harder to do, but you can't have the one lady that just does everything.
Mm.
That's too hard. So at my office, we have sales coordinators that help everything on the front end with the estimators. We have our bookkeeper that handles the money. And then it goes to a production coordinator. If it's a roof or gutters or a repair, that's one person. If it's siding, windows, or doors, it's a different person. Um, we have a way to electronically, right, manage the project through steps to make sure nothing gets lost. There's communication, at each of those steps, or at least the larger milestones, to keep people informed as many times as you can. Hey, I got your job. It's on my desk. Hey, I got your final measurements for your windows. Hey, we've ordered your windows. Maybe a few weeks later, hey, I checked. Your windows are still on schedule. You won't hear from me for another few weeks. Whatever it is, over communicate it, under promise, and then over deliver. That's an old one.
Yep.
But whatever it is that you say is going to happen, make sure that happens. There are things that we know are going to happen that we used to not communicate. Like there are things that are going to happen so easily, we don't have to worry about if it's going to happen. Well, let's just tell the customer this is something we're doing and it's going to happen. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's one more place where we came through with what we said we were going to do. We have a script that we say when we schedule a roof job, say like for the day of installation, hey, remember these things, but then we send it to them in writing 2 times. We explain to them there's a guy on the roof, he's your crew leader, and then there's a roaming supervisor. If you need something, call me at the office and I'll make sure one of those 2 guys gets with you, rather than having a customer wander around outside trying to find the right guy.
Yeah.
Right. So we have things, that's for us for roofing. That's very important. That roaming supervisor, he's going to see the customer. He's got his checklist. He's going to talk to them about all kinds of things. But he is going to go back once all crews, like all crew members, all equipment, everything is gone from the job site, usually the next day. And he's going to do one last cleanup check and take away any leftover material, whatever. We make sure the customer understands that that's going to happen. And please don't nitpick our cleanup until he's nitpicked the cleanup. So then they're not stressed. They go outside after the crew leaves and they're like, oh, I got nails over here. And they're all stressed about it. They go, oh, that guy Chris is coming back to check for this.
Yeah.
And so it's those types of things that help us, give the customer a nice journey. And then we make a final phone call. Before we send an invoice, we always want to know, did we earn a 5-star review from you? And if the answer is no, then the next thing we say is, then the job's not done. We're coming to figure that out. We don't give invoices to people who aren't happy.
That's interesting. But
Yeah.
what I like, what I first through the process there that you described, things that I want to highlight is that, first of all, that we get a lot of times we don't think about the things that happen through that process.
Right.
It's just because it's like when you drive home and you get home and you're like, whoa, I didn't even
Yep.
how did I get here kind of thing, right? We're on autopilot so much in our businesses that we're just going through the day and we're on to the next thing and we're putting out this fire and getting this phone call. And it just happens. It's just part of our day.
Right.
But if you think about it from the customer's perspective,
that's the key.
That's what the communication needs to be. It's what are they thinking at that time?
Well, they're thinking this. I just signed up for a $30,000 roof replacement and I gave a 30% deposit. I gave them $9,000 and they said that they're 3 weeks out. And they feel good about it because they saw our reviews and their neighbor used us and it's all good for about 3 days. And then they're like, oh my God, what are they doing with my deposit? What is
Yeah.
going on, right? And so right about then is when they get a communication from Natalie, the one I was speaking of earlier, that says, hey, you're on my desk now. Like, I've got you. And we tell them, here are the things that I've done on your job so far. And it's, I've created a material order list. I've done, I've moved your project here to here.
Yeah.
We create a work order that goes to the job, that goes to the crew and out to the job site, that include the drawing of the house and all the little special instructions. It's got a list of all the materials. It has everything, so we can double check colors, and it's got everything, right? And so, explains, we've created this document, and it's all the stuff that the estimator told the customer about too. But now they're seeing in writing that Natalie is at the office doing this work. It's stuff we're doing anyway. And I just thought one day, we should tell the customer we've done this stuff on their behalf.
Yeah.
You gave us your money, you signed your contract, you gave us your money, we've done this stuff on your behalf, and we're all set for now. And
Yeah.
they love it. They write back to her and they're like, thanks so much, Natalie. It's great to know you have a process, that you haven't forgotten me.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it's such a simple thing.
It is.
But it's so impactful.
Yes.
To that customer. Like, it is unbelievably impactful.
Yeah.
And you're not in you're in a competitive market.
Oh yeah.
Like,
No doubt.
right? Like, you are in one of the most competitive markets in the nation. And that's how you stand out. That's how you grow. That's how you continue to succeed in that.
For sure.
But I know other companies that have done things like this, and they're in smaller markets, and then the gap just becomes so wide between them and the next contractor in that market that it's unbelievable.
Oh,
you can create a gap in your market where there are thousands of contractors, right?
Yeah.
By doing these little things. If you like, you can make yourself so different just with a little bit of communication.
Yeah. And so that's part of what we work on every day. It's like finding those little things that we can change. And really right now we've got a huge press to document all of our existing SOPs. And we're making Loom videos every day, and, written, so that we can go, okay, here's what it is right now. And then anytime we make a change, just go in and change the document.
Yeah.
So that when we hire the next production coordinator, we can get them up and running, and it's consistent. This is how we do it. This is the pond process. Do it like this. So.
And one thing I heard there, though, you can change things. You can edit things. SOPs are living documents.
Right.
They're not final forever. This is never going to change, right? Like, that's what I think there's a lot of pressure when you're building out these SOPs and things like that to get them so perfect that you'll never have to change it. It can change.
No, yeah. And I had to listen, you were asking about the journey. Part of the journey was a few years ago, adopting the mantra, just lean into it, and done is better than perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you sit there and you're like, well, I have to have a perfect process first before I document it, it'll never happen, right? And it was really helpful to be able to pass some of these things off to the production coordinators and say, hey, look, you're going to write these, right? You write them, and I'll review them with the installation director, and we'll make sure that we're communicating it the way we want. But you guys draft them because you're living it every day. But then once it's built, at least there's something that you can go back to and make the little tweaks in writing as you change stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's helped you find success with Pond?
Oh man, the greatest insight. I mean, look, as an owner, getting myself to a point where some of the things I was just saying, right? Like just just start implementing things, right? Like done is better than perfect. Just lean into it. That I held myself up for too long thinking, well, I've got to have this in place first. It's like young people who are getting married and they're like, I can't have kids yet because we don't have this or that. It's the same thing. Like we humans, we do it to ourselves, and business owners do that. Um, I think as an owner, if you start looking at your employees as, trying to help them get more of what they want out of life, if you take that attitude and genuinely try to help, not do it because you think that then you're going to get what you want, just know that it's back there somewhere, but generally go about it. You're going to get more out of your people. You're going to root out the people that don't really fit, and the ones who do fit will do that much more to help you and your customers. I think those are probably some of the main things that I keep in my mind these days. You ask me that in a year and it'll be a little bit different, Jim. You asked me 4 years ago, it was different, but right now that's where I'm at, is let me help customers and teammates get more of what they want, whatever that can look like a lot of things from day to day. Sometimes you're out there with a customer who's upset about something and you realize the best way to get them more of what they want is to just take the hit for the $500 chair that was already broken when you got there, but since you don't have it documented right, like, look, whatever, here, let me buy you a new chair.
For sure, man. Matt, thanks for your time today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.